Nowadays, warfare is so boring. All modern warfare is focused about is tactics, doctrines, and the very finest of details. I miss the good old days where you and your mates would grab some pointy sticks and just be men and run at the enemies, even if they had guns. The Highland Charge. Prior to the 17th century, Highlanders fought in tight formations led by a heavily armed warrior elite who carried a heavy battle axe or a claymore. However, boom sticks ruined this meta. Muskets and cannons were extremely good at making tight formations not so tight. As a result, the Highlanders developed a lighter one-handed basket-hilted broadsword that protected the hand. This was generally used with a shield or a targe, and on the other hand there was a dirk that was used for close combat fighting. The Scottish and Irish warrior Alistair MacCulloch is sometimes credited with inventing the Highland Charge during the Wars of the Three Kingdoms. The charge required a high degree of commitment from the men as they were running straight into the bullets, which could make any African militant proud. From this, you could easily gather that if it was unsuccessful, you have a lot of dead Highlanders. Speed was essential, so the Highlanders would usually use this tactic downhill or over firm ground to get as much speed as possible. They ran forward in clusters of a dozen, which formed a larger wedge-shaped formation. Once in musket range, about 60 yards, those who had guns would fire to create a mass amount of smoke which would obscure the enemy's aim and give Highlanders a bit more cover. After firing, the Highlanders would get crouched low to the ground to gain even more protection from the bullets. Then they would drop their guns and equip their close combat weapons. Then they would begin their final charge with a Gaelic battle cry. When the Highlanders were in stabbing distance, they would lunge at the enemy's weapons to try and disarm them with their targe, and also aiming low to deliver an upwards thrust to the enemy's chest. The Jacobites also added bagpipes during the tactic, which would also help cause panic and disorder in enemy ranks. The foreign language of Gaelic would also be foreign to most of the soldiers, so they would be unaware of what they were saying, adding to a more fear factor. Bagpipes and war cries would cause inexperienced soldiers to feel nervous and even break ranks. I think it's now time to show you some examples of when it worked and when it didn't. The Battle of Tippermuir. The Battle of Tippermuir was part of the Wars of the Three Kingdoms, and on September the 1st, 1644, this was the first recorded use of the Highland Charge in a battle. First Marquis of Montrose, who deserves a video in himself, advanced his army comprised of 2,000 to 3,000 Highlanders and Irish soldiers rapidly across a field towards a weak Covenanter position, using the Highland Charge to shock and disrupt the enemies. The Covenanters, numbered around 7,000 men, were thrown into complete disarray by the ferocity and speed of the surprise attack, causing them to break ranks and flee, leading to a decisive victory for Montrose's forces. Another example of the Highland Charge being used was the Battle of Prestonpans, which was a key battle in the 1745 Jacobite risings. The Jacobite forces were mostly made up of Highland clans, but also had some Irish and Lowlander forces. The Jacobites took advantage of the element of surprise under the cover of night. They moved rapidly towards the government troops. Then at dawn, they launched a frenzied Highland Charge, charging in 3 columns. With this, the government forces, caught off guard for the speed and ferocity of the charge, broke and fled almost immediately. The battle only lasted 15 minutes, making it one of the quickest victories in Scottish history. Sticking with the Jacobite rises of 1745, the Battle of Culloden took place, and you guessed it, Culloden. The Jacobites launched a Highland Charge across open, boggy grounds towards the well-prepared British lines, which were anchored by artillery and bayonets. Yeah. You all do know this is going. Despite their courage, the terrain mixed with the firepower fucking decimated the Jacobites. Rightfully so, because what did you think was going to happen? You looked at the instructions and went, fucking cringe. And this battle ended in a catastrophic defeat. Now we are moving out of the European continent, and now we are in North America, land of the semi-free. During the American Revolutionary War, Battle of Moores Creek Bridge saw loyalist forces which included Scottish Highlanders attempting to march against Patriot forces in North Carolina. During the battle, the Highlanders attempted to charge across Moores Creek's bridge, where they were met by a Patriot militia who had set up artillery and removed planks from the bridge, and this defence inflicted heavy casualties on the Highlanders, forcing them to retreat, which resulted in a decisive defeat for the Loyalists. This battle marked the last significant use and the decline of the Highland Charge. In conclusion, the reason the Highland Charge was so effective was the speed and aggression and the psychological warfare, but it wasn't amazing. It worked best with poorly disciplined troops or in surprise attacks to cause panic, like prestonpans. However, as firepower and bayonet drills improved, it became less effective, resulting in disasters like Culloden and Moore Creek's bridge. But it was still kinda based. Thanks for watching, lads. Highland Charge that like button, and goodbye.
That's my job. That's my job. That's my job.